Hello, I am Jason Barron. I'm going to read an excerpt from the book The Last Crusader, Isabella of Spain, 1451 1504, by William Thomas Walsh. In the book, there is an excerpt from the document that Queen Isabella and Fernando signed their names to, which ordered the expulsion of the Jews from Spain. I'm going to read to you part of it. Okay. Israel and Fernando signed their names on March 31st, 1492, to a document commencing thus. Okay, and this begins the excerpt from the document. You know, or ought to know, that since we were informed that there were certain evil Christians in these our realms who Judaized and apostatized from our holy Catholic faith on account of the considerable communication of Jews with Christians, we commanded the said Jews in the Cortes which we held in the city of Toledo in the past year 1480 to go apart in all the cities, towns, and places of our realms, and gave them Jeweries and separate places where they might live, hoping that with their segregation the matter might be remedied. And moreover, we have endeavored and given orders to have inquisition made in our said realms and seigneuries, which, as you know, has been done for more than 12 years, and is done, and many guilty persons have been sentenced by it, as is well known. Yet there remains and is apparent the great injury to the Christians which has resulted and does result from the participation, conversation, and communication which they have held and hold with the Jews, who have demonstrated that they would always endeavor by all possible ways and manners to subvert and draw away faithful Christians from our holy Catholic faith, and separate them from it, and attract and pervert them to their wicked belief and opinion, instructing them in the ceremonies and observances of their law, holding fasts during which they read and teach them what they have to believe and observe according to their law, causing them and their sons to be circumcised, notifying them of the Passover feast before they come, giving them and taking to them from their houses unleavened bread and meat slaughtered with ceremonies, persuading them as far as possible to hold and observe the law of Moses, giving them to understand which there was no other true law but that which is clear from many utterances and confessions, not only by the Jews themselves, but by those who were perverted and injured by them, which has resulted in great harm, detriment, and opprobrium to our holy Catholic faith. Although they had long known of this situation, the sovereigns had hoped that the expulsion of the Jews from Andalusia, where they were doing the greatest harm, would suffice. But it had been plainly demonstrated that the crimes and offenses of the Jews against the faith were increasing daily, and that nothing would remove the root of the trouble but to drive them from the kingdom. Okay, end of excerpt. That's from page 342 to 343. Those who want to read more on the subject can buy the book for themselves. But we can see that what the Jews did then, they're doing now. You know, we hear the term on the internet, pattern recognition. The Jews have done this over and over and over throughout history. where they gain control and they manipulate facts. They confuse people with their gift of gab, their gift of distorting things, like with their term Judeo-Christian, where when they say that Christians have to believe in Judaism, but Jews don't have to believe in Christianity, but they say it in such a way to where it confuses some people, to where they don't really understand that that's what the Jews are saying. When that's how almost hypnotic their manner of speech is, to where they can say such a thing, and the scary thing is it doesn't even dawn on most people that what they're saying is, with this Judeo-Christian nonsense, is they're saying that Christians have to accept Judaism, but Jews don't have to accept Christianity. And that's just, but it just doesn't dawn on most people. It just doesn't relate that's what they're saying. That the utter hypocrisy, that they're saying we have to say Judeo-Christian, but they don't say Judeo-Christian when they're among themselves because they don't believe in Christianity. But they're saying that if we don't say Judeo-Christian, then we're the ones who are rejecting the whole scripture, whereas it's just the opposite. Because as Christians, we don't have to say Judeo-Christian, because as Christians, we accept both testaments. In fact, that's what the bishops in Roman Catholicism. That's what the bishop's mitre represents. The 2 points. It represents the points of both testaments. Well, so by saying the word Christian, that encompasses both testaments. But they want us to say Judeo-Christian because, in their diabolical, deceitful manner of language, they convince us that we're the ones who have to accept Judaism, or else we're denying Christianity, when in reality they're the ones who have to accept Christianity in order to accept what they call Judaism. And I say the reason what they call is because in ancient Israel, to my knowledge, the term Judaism wasn't the term used to describe the religion of the ancient Israelites. I could be wrong on that, but I don't think so. But the point is that when the Jews say that we have to say Judeo-Christian, and say that anybody who doesn't is denying both testaments, it's actually them who are denying both testaments, because they deny Christianity. They openly and explicitly, as part of their religion, they deny the New Testament. So how is it that they're going to tell us that we have to accept Judaism, or we're the ones who are denying the Bible, when they're the ones who deny Christianity? See, I'm already getting confused just trying to discern their speech. They're the ones who deny Scripture by denying the New Testament. They're the ones who only accept half the book, not us Christians. Us Christians, we accept the Old and the New Testaments. Again, that's what the bishop's mitre represents, the points of the two testaments, both testaments. It's the Jews who only accept one. The Jews do not accept the New Testament. So we do not have to say the term Judeo-Christian, because by saying Christian, like I said, that includes both testaments. But it does exclude Judaism, because Judaism does not accept both testaments. Judaism only accepts the First Testament, what we call the Old Testament. And they don't even truly accept that, because by denying the New Testament, they're also denying the Old Testament. And Jesus Christ said this himself. He said, if you believe Moses, you would believe me also. So, and this is also easily demonstrated by what the Jews promote. They do not promote the moral laws of the Old Testament in any way, shape, or form. I mean, the Old Testament, is where a lot of Christian moral law comes from. The Ten Commandments, and the moral law we accept as Christians, but we don't accept the judicial and ceremonial laws of the Old Testament. Those are not binding on. Those were abrogated by Christ. But the moral law of the Old Testament clearly, several times, especially, condemns homosexuality. The Old Testament describes two cities being described, two cities being destroyed by God because of this sin, that's where we get the term sodomy from, Sodom and Gomorrah, that God was so disgusted by this sin that he destroyed the sin of homosexuality, that he destroyed two cities because of it. And according to ancient Old Testament judicial law, the punishment for homosexuals was to be stoned to death. So both the Old Testament judicial law and the Old Testament moral law very, very strongly condemns homosexuality. But yet a Jew will look you in the eye and tell you that they're a religious Jew, and at the same time promote homosexuality. I mean, they're absolutely diabolical with their. I mean, it's like their lies and hypocrisy are so blatant that it's like a shock to your senses. That's almost why you become confused or almost believe them, because you can't believe that somebody would tell such a blatant, hypocritical lie as the Jew does frequently on a daily basis. It's yeah. The best thing is to not listen to them, because their speech is diabolical as far as how they confuse people and shock people by telling such blatant lies that you're shocked into believing them, because you couldn't believe that somebody could lie like that. That's basically what it comes down to. Well, like I said again, this is a good book. It's worth reading. You can buy it online. I'm Jason Barron. Have a wonderful day. I shall speak to you again soon.